You are live on your YouTube channel. Please do not swear.
You have got to be kidding. A working title for this episode was originally going to be Game Show World. This was the last of the 2005 Doctor Who episode titles to be revealed, Bad Wolf. Prior to this, the episode was referred to in promotional material as The Parting of the Ways Part 1, with Part 2 eventually becoming simply The Parting of the Ways. The concept of the android and a futuristic version of the weakest link was pitched by Russell T Davies in his second meeting with the BBC about bringing back Doctor Who in 2000 or 2001. The idea had come from his trip to New York City for the launch of the American version of Queer as Folk, where he had seen a vast screen in Times Square with a gigantic Anne Robinson blasting us tiny mortals with her voice. He quotes, "The production team originally intended to show Jack's naked bum on screen. The scene was shot, but the BBC's editorial policy department stepped in and vetoed it. This is the only time that they overruled the production team during the 2005 series. According to the DVD commentary for this episode, the music that is heard as the Dalek fleet is revealed includes a chorus singing Ma Kore, which translates from Hebrew as what is happening." Russell T Davies mentions that the arc word for the second series of Doctor Who was mentioned in Bad Wolf, as well as being an anagram for Doctor Who. For example, one of the answers during the Weakest Link scenes was that the Great Cobalt Pyramid was built on the ruins of what famous Old Earth Institute? Torchwood is the answer, of course, and Torchwood is an anagram of Doctor Who, with the spin-off being created in 2006, set in modern-day Cardiff and involving a team investigating paranormal alien incidents, and featuring John Barrowman reprising his role as Captain Jack Harkness. This was the first episode in the series that was not given a press screening prior to the broadcast. The Radio Times stated, "No preview tape was available for this episode, The Parting of the Ways." The episode, however, was screened for the BAFTAs on the 15th of June 2005. According to Russell T Davies in Doctor Who magazine, Jack was left behind because they wanted to explore the effects of the regeneration on Rose, noting that Jack probably would have taken the regeneration in his stride. Russell T Davies also stated that an alternate ending for this episode was written and filmed with the intention that it would be shown to press previewers to hide the secret of the regeneration. The idea was abandoned when Eccleston's departure was revealed much earlier than planned. The false ending would have featured similar dialogue to the televised final scene, but the TARDIS would have scanned Rose and the viewers would have seen the display read, "Life form dying." Davies considered this scene to be inferior to the one that we eventually got, but suggested that it could be an extra on a DVD someday. On the DVD commentary, executive producer Julie Gardner and Billy Piper briefly discussed this ending, which Gardner described as featuring Rose's death. Unlike Davies, Gardner expresses doubt that this will be issued on DVD, and it was not included on the Series 1 box set. David Tennant's portion of the regeneration scene was actually filmed much later than Eccleston's, and without the presence of Billy Piper. Tennant's segment was recorded with him speaking to a piece of sticky tape indicating Piper's eyeline, and then edited into the broadcast version. It was recorded on the 21st of April 2005. Christopher Eccleston's departure had been leaked early by the BBC on the 30th of March 2005, who claimed that he was scared of being typecast, which were his reasons for leaving. On the 4th of April, they admitted that this statement had been made without consulting Eccleston and were forced to apologise. In 2010, Eccleston denied the typecast claim, explaining that he was not comfortable in the working environment. He later stated that he could not get along with some of the senior people, and according to the Sunday Mirror, an interview for BBC Doctor Who website was taken down after his departure was revealed that Eccleston had planned to stay for 2 or 3 more years. David Tennant was offered to replace Eccleston when he was watching a pre-transmission copy of Casanova with Russell T Davies and Julie Gardner. David actually believed that the offer was a joke, though he accepted the role after he realised that they were serious, and he was announced as the 10th Doctor on the 16th of April 2005. So, after all the production is out of the way, and my god that was a lot, let's talk about the story. The Doctor, Rose and Jack become separated with no TARDIS and must fight for their lives aboard the game station. However, the true perpetrators are revealed to be an army of 500,000 Daleks that have manipulated humanity for hundreds of years. As the Daleks attack the game station led by their Emperor, the Doctor finds himself helpless as he sends Rose home while Jack faces the huge Dalek army. but only 2 words are puzzling the Doctor here. Bad Wolf. As a finale, Bad Wolf and the Parting of the Ways most certainly delivers, and it really does feel like the end of a series here, which is what a finale should be in my opinion. We have a culmination of a story arc, a semi-sequel to an earlier episode, and the return of an old enemy that we've already seen. This is what I love most about Russell T Davies as a writer, the scale of everything and how everything feels big in so many areas, and this episode succeeds with flying colours in my opinion. For the final time, I am most definitely going to say, of course, Christopher Eccleston is absolutely amazing as the Doctor, and my is there so many fantastic moments to choose from in this brilliant 2-parter. His best moments in Bad Wolf come from his anger at how corrupt reality TV has become. It's now a glorified slaughterhouse that he more or less helped create. After the defeat of the Jagrafess in the long game, Satellite 5's news channels were shut down and humanity became far worse because of the Doctor's actions. It's a good idea seeing the long-term consequences of his actions, but my problem is it didn't really go anywhere in the story. It's mentioned once that he made this world more or less, but it's not really brought up again. Now I am going to cheat here and give Eccleston 2 moments of the week. My first moment of the week comes from the cliffhanger to Bad Wolf, and in my opinion this is one of Doctor Who's greatest cliffhangers ever. The Doctor establishes contact with the Dalek fleet and the Daleks tell him not to interfere or they will exterminate Rose. So, with 500,000 Daleks and no help or defences whatsoever, what is the Doctor's response to all this?
No.
That's what I thought. He gives the Daleks an ultimatum here. He is going to save Rose, the Earth, and wipe out all of the Daleks despite having no weapons, no plan or defences, no backup worth a damn, but he swears he will do it. I mean, where do I begin with this moment? The way Eccleston adjusts his jacket when the screen comes up, the comical hello, and the way his eyes are totally fixated on the screen all the time. The Doctor is at his most helpless here, but arguably he's at his most dangerous when left off the leash. This cliffhanger is more or less one for the Daleks when you think about it. How on earth will they get out of this one? Now before I mention my favourite moment from the Parting of the Ways, I should talk about his shining moments throughout the episode, and funnily enough, they contain 0 amounts of dialogue. First is, after his encounter with the Dalek Emperor, while I would complain about the Doctor treating the Daleks as a bit of a joke, and meeting the neighbours and all that thing, it's more than made up for when he re-enters the TARDIS and places his head against the door. That cocky persona, the confident way he strutted into the Dalek mothership, it was all just a ruse, and with the Daleks shooting and screaming exterminate, it shows how helpless the Doctor is in this situation. We don't see the Doctor's face or his expressions, but we just know exactly what he's feeling here. It's remarkable. Another great moment is when he sends Rose home. Again, it starts with the Doctor being so confident in his plan, but he stops in his tracks, looks at the machine that made him who he is, and he sends Rose home. Again, no dialogue, but we know exactly what the Doctor is feeling. It's just fantastic. The ending, of course, I love how he declares himself a coward, not a killer, as he can't bring himself to wipe out the Daleks and humanity, as Satellite 5's transmitter covers the entire Earth. It makes sense, it's a huge broadcaster. He's given a choice that almost mirrors his moment at the end of the Time War, but he doesn't want to become the great exterminator again, and even accepts his death at the hands of the Daleks. Or plungers. Now, for my Christopher Eccleston moment of the week for the Parting of the Ways, it's the Regeneration Scene. Come on now, is anyone surprised? Now before I talk about the scene itself, I'm going to ask you, what has the 9th Doctor's arc been throughout Series 1? Now I'm going to answer for you because I can't hear you, and if I could I'd be very worried. In my opinion, after being battle-scarred by the Time War, it's been about him becoming the Doctor again, and making the people around him better people for the universe. Think of it this way, in Rose Tyler saves the day. From the Autons, in The End of the World, it's Jabe. The Unquiet Dead, it's Charles Dickens and Gwyneth. Aliens of London and World War III, it's Mickey and Harriet Jones. Dalek, it's Rose again. The Long Game, it's Kafka. Father's Day, it's Pete Tyler. The Empty Child and the Doctor Dancers, Nancy and Jack are made better people by the end. And in Boomtown, now you could argue Margaret changed, but the execution was kind of clumsy. Anyway, my point still stands that all these people became better people because of the Doctor's presence. I love how the Doctor is able to change, knowing that he's made people better for once, and he can save Rose, but he will do it himself because it's the right thing to do. That is the Doctor, in my opinion. I adore practically everything about the Regeneration Scene. I mean, 14 years later, it's still not been topped, in my opinion. The fact that he goes out with such happiness is fantastic. It reassures the audience, who, the majority have probably never seen this changeover before, that this is still going to be the same man, just with a different face. Now, before I finish my thoughts on the Ninth Doctor, I just want to say he was fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. And we could not have asked for a better actor like Christopher Eccleston to bring Doctor Who back into the 21st century. As for our companions in this two-parter, Rose again, I have mixed thoughts on. In Bad Wolf, while her smug attitude at the weakest link is a bit insufferable to start with, she does learn the truth behind the games. I do feel for her a bit more. She's stuck in a reality TV show where the questions are from her future and she won't know the answers. It keeps the stakes high, in my opinion. Her death is also pretty effective because of the Doctor's reactions. Everything around the Doctor slows down. The audio, we barely hear the chaos going around him, but we feel the Doctor's shock at all this. However, her worst moment for me comes from the parting of the ways. Wanting to get back to the Doctor and save him, she says in front of Mickey that there's nothing for her on Earth anymore. Look, Rose, I get you want to get back and help the Doctor, but there's no need to say that in front of Mickey. Yeah, he's a bit of a klutz and all, but he's nice and he worships the ground you walk on. In fact, I'm surprised Mickey helps her after that. However, on a nicer note, I do think Billie Piper is absolutely amazing in this episode. Her sadness and grief does come across as very genuine, especially her moment with Jackie when she tells her about meeting Pete in the past. It's an example of how good the Doctor is and what he can do. Her speech about making a stand and saying no, it's pretty much the epitome of Series 1. As I said, those ordinary people that I mentioned earlier made the universe a better place because they stood up against what was wrong, despite having no interest when we first meet these characters. But the Doctor's influence made them better people. My only gripe with this arc is that I don't think he made Rose a better person. I mean, she even gets jealous at Linda when her and the Doctor shake hands. I mean, how dare anybody else speak to the Doctor? But, to end on a better note, Billie Piper is simply an amazing actress. She's been fantastic, even if Rose hasn't. The finale also reveals that Rose herself is more or less Bad Wolf. She scattered the words in time and space as a predestination paradox to bring her back to save the Doctor. While I would say it's a deus ex machina when the TARDIS literally appears out of nowhere, Rose raises her hands and the Daleks disappear, there are still consequences to all of this, as it would kill Rose, but the Doctor does take it out of her and puts it back inside the TARDIS, and unfortunately it costs him a regeneration. Jack Harkness is also brilliant here, getting a nice mix of innuendos and pure badassness. His what not to wear scenes are pretty funny.
Am I naked in front of millions of viewers?
Absolutely.
Ladies, your viewing figures just went up.
Ha! He's talking about his penis.
Where were you hiding that?
You really don't want to know.
Ha! He hid it up his ass. Not to mention, he also gives the Doctor his first male on-screen kiss. Doctor Who, pushing a gay agenda since 2005 and not just 2018. But in all seriousness, he is so damn awesome when fighting the Daleks with a machine gun. When he volunteers to defend the Daleks from the Doctor to give him more time to complete the Delta Wave, he knows he's a dead man when he starts. Heck, he's the last man standing at the end of it all. He will fight until he has a crappy tiny pistol left, but if it means buying the Doctor more time, he will do it. Jack trusts and respects the man he knows and will fight to the death for him. While it's true, yes, he does come back at the end because of Rose's powers, even if he remained dead at the end of the episode, it would still be a fitting end for his character. He started out as a cowardly con man, only out for himself, and looking for a profit. But with his sacrifice, he became such a more honest person because of meeting the Doctor. There's no "this is my death" speech or "this is the end." He died like everyone else on the game station, but thematically he will hold the Daleks back as long as he can because he knows it's right. Fantastic. Now our villains for the finale are of course the Daleks, and I'm going to be honest here, 14 years later, it has yet to be topped as their best appearance in the new series. The entire army and their spaceships look amazing, and as characters themselves, they are on top form here. Their mission when getting to the game station is stopping the Doctor from completing the Delta Wave that would wipe them out, and they must head to the top floor, only going up. However, a group of humans are left on floor 0, and they go down and exterminate all of them, because they detected life forms that aren't Daleks. It's so ruthless, it's so hateful, but it's what the Daleks are, and that is just brilliant in my opinion. The Dalek Emperor model is also a thing of beauty. The design just looks so grand and terrifying at the same time. I'm really glad they went with a practical model because it looks amazing. The deep voice provided by Nick Briggs is equally as intimidating, and it gives the Emperor such presence. Furthermore, how this Dalek army came about is equally as terrifying. The Emperor constructed them out of remains on humans who lose on the game station, 1 cell in a billion used to create a Dalek mutant. They were made out of something that isn't them. They hate their own existence, and that is an utterly terrifying enemy to face. We saw what one Dalek was capable of in the episode Dalek. Now there's 500,000 that hate everything, including themselves, and that is utterly terrifying. The supporting cast are also really good here. I love Jo Joyner as Linda Moss. She's just such a sweet person, as the Doctor describes her. After escaping the Big Brother house, she asks to come with the Doctor, and he agrees. Now you can see why she would want to travel with the Doctor, as the Earth is just a ruin now. Half of it is living in famine, half of it is living in gluttony. Not far from our own Earth. The world has been a living hell. She's willing to help the Doctor defend the station against the Daleks, but it does cost her life in the process. The Daleks attempt to cut through the door, but they appear outside the window instead. We don't hear the words exterminate, but from the way the lights flash, we know it's saying that, and they kill her. The Doctor's face at hearing this is just so heartbreaking. Such a shame that Linda wasn't a companion. Martha Hope as the controller is also really good. The image of a young girl wired into the mainframe of this giant game station is pretty horrific. Her whole life being controlled by the Daleks. When the Daleks discover her betrayal, they kill her. If you notice, there is a smile of relief on her face when she dies, because when you think about it, the only way she got her freedom was her death. That's so bittersweet, but it's so pretty effective as well. The male and female programmers are a pretty good couple. The male programmer asks her out for a drink before they face the Daleks. They almost know that they're going to die, but they at least made the promise of a date in case they get out of this alive. But sadly, they don't, and that's pretty sad. Now that I think about it, so many people died in this episode. Did Eric Saywood write it or something? From a production standpoint, this episode definitely has the look and feel of a finale, packed with such great action scenes when Jack and the crew fight the Daleks. They look and sound so brilliant. The Dalek ships do look great, even in CGI 14 years later. And while I said the Dalek Emperor looked great, I also love the mutant in the middle. We get so much expression out of a small tentacle blob, it just looks really fierce. I love how it's wired into the mainframe of the mothership, symbolic of how it's manipulated humanity and rebuilt the Dalek race for centuries. The music by Murray Gold is nothing short of fantastic. The choir just makes the Daleks feel so epic and symbolic of their fascism and ruthlessness. The music used during the regeneration is also great. It sounds so majestic but bewildering at the same time. The perfect mix of how this regeneration looks, but how we the audience feel. We can't take our eyes off the effect, but we're equally as confused as Rose, as we really don't know what's happening. But then the music quietens down and we see the 10th Doctor come through. Very effective. The robots used in the games also look pretty cool. Trini and Susanna are pretty visually appealing. Plus, have you noticed how they glide across the room? Quite similar to a Dalek. According to Russell in the Doctor Who Confidential episode, this was supposed to be a subtle hint of who was truly behind the games. Shame it was spoilt in the next time trailer, but the intentions were good. The android is also great. I love how it's able to temporarily hold back the Daleks, and while the game show references are pretty dated, I do think that the stakes still remain high because any wrong answer and the contestants are dead. Plus I know Weakest Link and What Not to Wear have been cancelled now, but who knows, like Doctor Who, they could be brought back for a new generation. Joe Ahern's direction is also brilliant. The way he shoots the Daleks are almost something like out of a horror film. Like when the Daleks massacre the humans on Floor Zero, we simply hear the Dalek death rays, but it just sounds so horrific. I like how when they enter a room the camera backs away from them, as if giving them such a great screen presence. Linda's death even feels like something out of a horror film. Linda sees them, and then we the audience see the Daleks. It's beautiful and just fantastic. So, after this 3,300 word review, here's my conclusion. Bad Wolf and the Parting of the Ways is masterful TV. Character and story arcs are wrapped up beautifully. The Doctor, the acting, the Daleks, the production values, everything that makes Doctor Who is here. This is an amazing finale, and it's easily my favourite from the Russell T Davies era. So, before I end this review, I just want to say, Christopher Eccleston, you were fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. And you know what? So was this series. Well everyone, that's all from me. Let me know in the comments below what you thought of Bad Wolf and the Parting of the Ways, and what are your thoughts on the Ninth Doctor and Series 1 as a whole. Do you think it still holds up nearly 15 years later? Let me know and I'll take a look. Be sure to like, share and subscribe, and I shall see you all next time for more Doctor Who related content. Goodbye.